All right, so let's talk about the one thing every business on the planet is fighting for. It's not your money, it's your attention. And today, we're diving into a super powerful strategy that's all about winning that fight by turning everyday tasks into something, well, fun. It's called gamification, the business of play.
And to really get a handle on why this is so important, let's just kick things off with a simple question. In this crazy, hyper-connected world we're all living in, what do you think is the single scarcest resource out there?
Now, if you guessed money, hey, you're not alone. But that's not it. The real answer? It's attention. Human attention has become the new oil, the ultimate bottleneck for pretty much every company out there. And the scale of this problem, it is absolutely staggering. I mean, get this. Some estimates say we get hit with over 6,000 commercial messages every single day. To cope with that onslaught, our brains have literally learned to just tune most of it out. We have to. So, this brings us right to what people in the industry are calling the engagement crisis. It's basically a full-blown war for our attention, for our voluntary participation. And you know what? The old ways of doing things, they just aren't working anymore. And the result of all this? Well, we've all become experts at ignoring what we see as corporate noise, right? Traditional ads just kind of fade into the background, and so many digital interactions feel shallow and transactional. For businesses, this is a huge problem. It creates this thing called user experience debt, basically a gap between what a product says it'll do and the often frustrating reality. And that leads people to either never even start using it or to just give up on it super quickly. Just getting people to passively consume content, that's not going to cut it anymore. Okay, so how do you solve a crisis like that? Well, the answer is you don't fight against human nature, you lean into it. The solution is actually found in the psychology of play, tapping into the neuroscience of what makes us tick. And that, right there, is the core idea behind gamification. It's pretty simple, really. You take all the stuff that makes games so addictive and compelling, points, challenges, storylines, and you apply them to things that are definitely not games. Think about your job or your fitness app or even your banking. But why does this work so well? I mean, why are we so wired to respond to these game-like systems? It's not just about getting flashy points and badges. The real reason goes much, much deeper than that. Okay, so the secret sauce is this psychological framework called self-determination theory. It's a fancy name, but the idea is simple. It says that for us to be truly motivated, like deep down, we need to satisfy three basic human needs. First up is autonomy. That's our need to feel like we're in the driver's seat, making our own choices. Then there's competence. That's the need to feel like we're getting better at something, that we're mastering a skill. And finally, there's relatedness, our need to feel connected with other people. When you can hit all three of those, that's when you create something that people just can't put down. All right, so that's the theory, but let's look at the proof. Let's see how this stuff actually translates into real-world results. We've got some pretty amazing examples of gamification in action to show you. So first up, customer conversion. You know the challenge. How do you get someone who's just kind of browsing to actually become a paying customer? Especially when what you're selling is, well, complicated. Take a look at what Autodesk did. Their 3ds Max software is incredibly powerful. But honestly, it's pretty intimidating for new users. So instead of just giving them a boring 30-day trial, they created something called undiscovered territory. Suddenly, tutorials weren't tutorials anymore. They were missions. And learning the software felt like you were exploring a brand new world. You see what they did? They hit those needs for competence and autonomy, guiding people on a journey to mastery. Okay, let's switch gears. Let's talk about employees. How on earth do you make that mandatory corporate training something people actually want to do? Yeah, I know. Well, Medtronic, the biggest medical device company in the world, had that exact problem. Their solution was brilliant, a gamified training dashboard. It had this visual learning path that looked just like a board game. And of course, it had points, badges, and global leaderboards to spark a little friendly competition between their sales teams. Bam, right there, you're tapping into competence and relatedness. And this wasn't just some nice idea. One of the heads of sales training there said the program generated, and I'm quoting here, a lot of excitement. It literally transformed a chore into a challenge people were excited about. All right, for our last example, let's go somewhere you'd never expect to find games. Banking. Seriously, how do you engage customers in finance, especially when you're about to deliver some bad news? So Extra Bank had to get rid of their free checking accounts, a move that, let's be honest, usually makes customers leave in droves. But instead of sending out some cold corporate letter, they built a game. It actually let people simulate their own spending habits. It educated them. It gave them a feeling of control. That's autonomy again. And it showed them how they could actually win with the new accounts by learning how to avoid the fees. Okay, these stories are really cool, but let's talk about the bottom line. What about the actual numbers? Because this is where we see that gamification isn't just some fluffy gimmick. It is a dead serious business strategy. Remember that undiscovered territory game from Autodesk? That led to a 54% increase in trial usage. Think about that. Over 50% more people were actively digging into the product, finding out how cool it was, and you guessed it, becoming paying customers.
Okay, but this one is just mind-blowing. By turning bad news into a helpful educational game, Extra Bank saw a 700% increase in new customer acquisition. 700%. They didn't just prevent people from leaving, they turned a potential disaster into a massive engine for growth. It's unbelievable. And this doesn't just work on customers. The impact is just as big internally. Companies like Freshdesk have reported that a wild 90% of their employees say they feel more productive when their work has gamified elements. It just goes to show you, it's all about making those daily tasks a little more engaging.
So, what's next? Where does this all go from here? Well, one thing's for sure, this isn't just some passing fad. Gamification is evolving, and it's merging with some of the most advanced tech out there. In a lot of ways, the future is a game. Just think about it. We're already seeing AI that can create unique, personalized challenges just for you. We're seeing virtual reality used for hyper-realistic training simulations. And then you've got things like the Internet of Things connecting all our smart devices, and Web3, which could let us actually own the digital rewards and status we earn online. It's getting wild. And really, that brings us to the final thought here. Once you understand the psychology behind it, and you see the incredible results, you start to see opportunities for this everywhere. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. What part of your world, your job, the way you learn, even your life, could be a game?